The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. The Auditor-General conducts financial audits and performance audits and reports on the results of these audits to Parliament. On the 11th of December 2013, the Auditor-General tabled his performance audit report, Managing Victoria's Native Forest Timber Resources. Victoria's system of parks and reserves in forest areas is designed to conserve native plants and animals and other natural values. Victoria also has areas of state forest where other activities such as honey production, trail bike riding, mineral extraction and timber harvesting are allowed. The way our state forests are managed is designed to align with the national policy goals and internationally accepted criteria for sustainable forest management. This means state forest management needs to sustainably balance a range of sometimes competing objectives, including using state forests to conserve environmental, heritage and cultural values, as well as to develop forest industries for economic and social benefits, particularly for some regional communities. The timber resource can be harvested and used for wood products, for example construction timber, flooring, paper, or for non-wood products such as carbon credits. Currently, the main use is to produce harvested products, saw logs and pulp logs, for furniture and paper, and wood chips for export. This also produces a small amount of firewood. The timber industry is a valuable source of employment in many of Victoria's regional areas, employing over 21,000 people. To be sustainable, the potentially adverse impacts from harvesting on environmental and other forest values and products needs to be managed. The objective of the audit was to determine whether native forest timber resources on public land are being managed in a productive and sustainable way. To do this, we examined whether timber is harvested at a level that does not adversely affect the long-term sustainability of the timber resources and the native forests, and whether timber resources are managed to optimise their long-term productive and commercial use, as well as the social and economic well-being of regional communities. We also assessed whether the agencies responsible for managing the timber resources work effectively together, have appropriate governance arrangements in place, and their activities are appropriately open to public scrutiny. This audit focused on native forest timber resources on public land in eastern Victoria, east of the Hume Highway, where the majority of the state's productive timber resources are. We examined the roles of the three agencies with the main responsibilities for timber resource management. The Department of Environment and Primary Industries, DEPI, is responsible for sustainably managing all public forests, including state forests, and for regulating timber harvesting. The department also supports the Minister for Agriculture and Food Security in his governance responsibilities over Vic Forests. Vic Forests is responsible for managing, harvesting and selling public native timber from state forests in eastern Victoria. It started its operations in 2004. The Department of Treasury and Finance, DTF, supports the Treasurer in his role as the sole shareholder of Vic Forests and also oversees Vic Forests' commercial and financial performance. The agencies are managing the timber resources in eastern Victoria productively. However, the environmental, social and economic sustainability of timber resource management can be further improved. For DEPI, this includes improving the way it protects forest values and documents decisions affecting where harvesting can occur. It also needs to regenerate some areas that were harvested prior to 2004 and have not yet been successfully regenerated. Vic Forests can also improve its process for estimating sustainable harvest levels. DEPI cannot show what progress has been made in sustainable forest and timber management, or how forest health and the condition of other forest values have fared over time. This is because it has not set a goal for state forest management, nor has it had progress measures and targets to demonstrate how its activities contribute to sustainable state forest management. Until recently, it has also not had the monitoring processes and data to show how forest health and the condition of other forest values are faring over time, although it is now working to address these gaps. Vic Forests and DEPI need to build on the strengths of their current collaborative approach, measure their progress, and continue to adapt their management of Victoria's timber resources to meet and respond to foreseeable future challenges and pressures. Gaps in DEPI's state forest and timber resource management performance reporting makes it difficult to assess how well DEPI's and Vic Forests' efforts are contributing to sustainable outcomes. There are regional goals for sustainable state forest management, but no overarching goal. There are no regional objectives, performance measures and targets. The department is planning to develop these. DEPI has goals and objectives for the Sustainable Timber Resource Management component of state forest management. VicForest develops corporate objectives, measures and targets aligned with these. Its reporting on them demonstrates VicForest's achievements in improving sustainable timber harvesting management over time. However, until recently, DEPI's assessment of progress in achieving forest and timber management objectives and goals was weak and lacked reliable data. It is taking important steps towards addressing this by establishing new forest monitoring and improved data collection. DTF and DEPI manage their roles in supporting the Minister for Agriculture and Food Security and Treasurer well. DEPI has an established process for deciding where in the forest harvesting can occur and uses its forest management zoning scheme to identify these areas. However, how well the current harvesting areas align with harvesting and conservation objectives is not clear, as DEPI has not adequately documented the assessments and rationale underpinning decisions to amend the zoning or adequately reviewed the zoning over time. DEPI has still not successfully regenerated some areas harvested prior to 2004 it is responsible for. DEPI has assessed that 5,500 to 7,000 hectares need to be regenerated, around the same area as VicForest's average annual harvest. Its current regeneration plan only addresses 150 hectares, or around 2% of the backlog. Furthermore, it does not have sufficient seed store to meet all its regeneration needs. VicForest demonstrated that it continues to improve what we found to be a largely effective approach for estimating the sustainable harvest level. It is harvesting within the sustainable rate, the area of which is less than that allowed by DEPI. There are still some ways it can further improve its 20-year planning for where and when to harvest. These include improving its estimates of where it can profitably harvest, the quality and quantity of wood that will be available after 2030, and what the forest condition is expected to look like if it follows its 20-year harvest plan. VicForest is meeting DEPI's regeneration standards, although it is not accurately reconciling its regenerated areas against its harvested areas. DEPI has designed a suite of measures and plans to manage the impacts that activities such as harvesting can have on forest values. These include establishing dedicated conservation areas, allowing harvesting only in a small proportion of the forest, and specific actions to manage animal and plant species threatened by harvesting and other activities. DEPI's effectiveness in protecting forest values from harvesting is reduced because it has failed in some cases to develop the plans needed to protect forest values. In other cases, it has also failed to track and review the progress being made and the results achieved. Until recently, DEPI's measurement of how well forest values are being maintained over time was poor. The comprehensive forest monitoring program it introduced in 2010 and additional data it is currently collecting are aimed at addressing this gap. VicForest is meeting its responsibilities to limit the potentially adverse impacts of harvesting on forest values. It has developed a system of management plans and actions to do this. Its effectiveness is confirmed by external audits of its operations by DEPI and its independent certification to the Australian Forestry Standard. DEPI and VicForest have designed their management approaches to protect biodiversity values in a precautionary way. However, they each need to improve and better document the way they assess the threats and consequences associated with biodiversity management decisions in harvesting areas and develop more transparent processes in managing the risks and trade-offs involved. VicForest planning shows it considers the medium to longer term through its 3-year corporate plan, its 10-year strategic planning, and its 20-year resource outlook. Our examinations of VicForest's commercial activities found examples of how it balances the need for long-term profits with the need to support a sustainable industry. It has generated profits in most years. The main exceptions were after the 2006-07 and 2009 fires. Since it started operating in 2004, VicForest has paid dividends to the state twice, for the 2005-06 and 2006-07 financial years. It is working to manage cash flow issues that started around 2008, following the impacts of fires, and repay the borrowings it has made to cover these issues. Its activities generate considerable direct and indirect socio-economic benefits for regional communities. This includes timber sales to mills that have totalled around $1 billion since 2004, and it has paid over $600 million to harvest and haulage contractors over the same period. The native forest timber industry also generates opportunities for business and service providers, as well as demand for social infrastructure. DEPI's long-term planning is not sufficiently strategic or proactive. While it is involved in VicForest's 3-year corporate planning and delivering the Timber Industry Action Plan, it considers emerging issues and future options for the industry on an issue-by-issue basis. DEPI is working with VicForests, the industry and other agencies to identify and respond to the current economic and environmental challenges facing the industry, particularly in East Gippsland. The audit made 11 recommendations that will assist DEPI and VicForests in better managing Victoria's native forest timber resource. The agencies have accepted and committed to implementing the Auditor-General's recommendations. All our reports are available on our website. If you have any questions about this or other reports, or if you have anything else you would like to discuss with us, including ideas for future audit topics, please call us on 03 8601 7000 or contact us via our website.